Many months ago in Onitsha, where even your neighbor's arguments can wake you up before your alarm, there lived a woman called Ifunaya. See, Ifunaya was the kind of woman people liked. If NEPA brought light, she would shout from her window, Nico, come charge your phone before they will take it again. And if she cooked soup, you don't need invitation. Your plate will just find its way to her kitchen. Even people that were not hungry will suddenly remember they had appetites. That was Ifunaya for you. Soft-hearted, no too much calculation. But somewhere between kindness and devotion, Ifunaya lost balance. On a Thursday afternoon under the mango tree, the women gathered. You should know that kind of meeting. No special invitation was needed, but somehow everybody is present. Mama Ngozi adjusted her wrapper and leaned forward. Have you people noticed Ifunaya these days? Mama Rita didn't even let her land. Notice care. That one has joined 24 hours church ministry. They all laughed. Another woman clapped her hands and said, yesterday, I saw her carrying pot of soup. I asked her, Auntie, where did they go? She said that they go drop her for altar. Altar? They all echoed. This thing I'm saying is full pot, not even flax. They all laughed again. Mama Ngozi shook her head. Laugh now, because her husband is not laughing. That one reduced the laughter small because once husband matter enters, joke starts becoming discussion. That evening, Christopher came back tired. The kind of tired that enters your bone. He dropped his bag. Ifunaya, please, I need water. No answer came. He checked the room. It was empty. He checked the kitchen. Also empty. He stepped outside and saw her at the backyard, pacing up and down, her phone pressed to her ear. Fire! Fire! Any evil power monitoring my destiny, catch fire! He shouted, Ifunaya! She turned, my husband, welcome, Who are you fighting with here? She smiled like nothing was wrong. His prayer line, Daddy said 6 p.m. sharp, no lateness. Christopher stared at her. Did Daddy also say your husband should be thirsty? She paused. Sorry, let me bring it. She rushed inside while muttering, every monitoring spirit, scatter! Christopher went inside and sat down slowly. Even water I will not collect with deliverance in my own house? The next morning, their neighbor Okafo leaned on the fence and said, Christopher, my brother, is everything alright? Christopher looked confused. How do you mean? Okafo nodded. I'm asking because your wife woke me up by 5 a.m. today. Christopher blinked. 5 a.m. Doing what? Okafo replied, praying now. She was shouting at something on the ground. On the ground? Yes, she said that the ground is holding her destiny. Christopher sighed. Did the ground reply? Okafo scratched his head. I no wait to hear that side. Christopher went inside, already tired of the complaint. That night, their daughter asked a question. Mommy, yes, my baby, why do you call that man daddy? And you also call daddy daddy? Ifunaya laughed. That one is spiritual daddy. The girl frowned. So, who is the real daddy? From the corner, their son added, is it two daddy we have now? Ifunaya didn't answer. Christopher just looked away because sometimes children say what adults are avoiding. One evening, Ifunaya returned home excited. My husband, that soon alone, problem has landed. What happened? Christopher asked. Daddy said this is our week of divine release. Christopher sighed. That was what he said last week now. He said we should give something that will touch heaven, so I gave our house rent. Christopher looked confused. The one you gave last week, was it to the devil? Christopher, Ifunaya yelled. You don't understand what I just did. Christopher laughed. I don't understand, he repeated. Wait, you took our rent money, Ifunaya, rent money, and you dropped it in church? She nodded quickly. Yes, for divine release. Daddy said what? Christopher cut in. There was silence. Even the fans slowed down. Ifunaya continued. Christopher, he said those who sow big will reap bigger. I didn't want us to miss our blessing. Christopher stood up. So let me understand you very well. This man you met on Sunday that did not enter this house to see how we live is the one you trusted with our rent money? Ifunaya blinked. It's not like that. He's a man of God. Christopher nodded repeatedly. Okay, Man of God, very good. Then he pointed. So when landlord come next week, should I tell him that man of God collected the rent? Ifunanya opened her mouth, closed it, then spoke again. Christopher, you're not saying spiritually. Christopher snapped. Spiritually what? His voice shook the room. So I'm the one blocking your vision? Ifunanya raised her hand quickly. No, 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 I didn't mean, you didn't mean what? He cut in. Because right now, what I'm seeing is very physical, very real, and very clear. Ifunanya spoke quietly. I did it in faith, without letting me know, Christopher said, and with that, he left the room angrily. The next morning, Ifunanya didn't wait. Something inside her was still unsettled, so she went back to church. Inside the church office, she sat down and said, Daddy, the pastor looked up. Oh, my daughter, you're here early. She nodded quickly. Yes, Daddy, I want to explain something. Go on, he said. Ifunanya took a deep breath. I gave the money you said we should give. The pastor smiled. That is good. She continued, but I gave our rent money. The smile disappeared slowly. Your rent money? He repeated. Yes, Daddy. The pastor leaned forward. Did I tell you to give your rent money? Ifunanya hesitated. You said we should give something big, something that would shake heaven. He shook his head immediately. No, my sister, in church, we guide people to give willingly, not to destroy their home. Ifunanya blinked, but I was obeying spiritually. The doctor exhaled slowly. Obedience to God does not cancel wisdom in your home. Even the scripture says a man must not neglect his household for the altar. That line landed properly. For the first time, Ifunanya didn't have a quick answer. The pastor leaned back and said, Go home, talk to your husband and make things right. That was the moment something shifted. When she got back home, she didn't talk too much. Even her usual energy around the house reduced. When Christopher returned from work in the evening, he saw Ifunanya sitting quietly on the couch, not praying, not shouting, just thinking. For a moment, he thought to pass her, but she spoke. My husband. He stopped. Ifunanya stood up slowly and walked towards him. I'm very sorry for not listening to you and not respecting your guidance. Christopher sat down and finally spoke. Ifunanya, let me tell you something once, so it doesn't repeat itself again in this house. She looked at him properly. He continued, I will never fight your faith, but I will not accept anything that puts God ahead of wisdom inside this home. A home does not survive when every instruction outside becomes louder than the responsibility inside. Ifunanya didn't argue. She didn't try to defend anything anymore. For the first time, she wasn't trying to win a spiritual argument. She was just listening as a wife. Christopher exhaled and looked around the house. The tension that had been sitting in the corners for days was no longer there. Then he said firmly, if something ever asks you to choose between your home and heaven, check again, because God does not destroy what he established. There was silence, but this time it was a peaceful silence. That night, the house became quiet in a different way. There was no argument, no prayer shouted into confusion, no misunderstanding dressed as obedience, just normal life returning slowly. They ate, talked, and laughed, and the air felt lighter. And to my besties, maybe this lesson is not about Ifunanya alone, because many people don't lose their homes to the wrong people. They lose them to the right intentions placed in the wrong order. Faith should never be the reason wisdom is ignored, because when order leaves a home, everything starts to sound spiritual. Thank you for watching this story. Kindly tell me your thoughts and lessons in the comment section. Do well to like and share with your loved ones. Don't forget, every life is a diary. See you in the next story.